Good evening, friends. I am Devendra Prabhuni. I am a mentor at Pixar Creations. Today, I am going to host the session on macro photography for Nisi filters. Basically, I am a professional photographer and I am having a photography experience for more than 30 years. And I'm working as a lead mentor at Pixar Creations, and we are training lots of professional as well as hobby photographers at Pixar Creations. Basically, Pixar Creations is a Pune-based photography training institute, and we have different professional and hobby photographers training programs at Pixar. At Pixar, we have different kinds of activities where we have specialized programs for various types of photography like macro photography, portrait photography, or different areas in the photography for hobby photographers, as well as for professional photographers. We have mainly different activities for them to get grow up as a freelance photographer and start working on their own. So we have two different setups in Pune. One setup is in Siagad Road area in Pune, and another is at Baner Road area in Pune. And basically, we also conduct various types of outdoor photography activities for the hobby photographers as well. That includes the portrait or fashion photography sessions, then outdoor photography expeditions to wildlife or birding or other kinds of photography activities. We host different types of events regularly on weekend basis so that people can enjoy their photography hobby. In this particular days of coronavirus, now we are hosting our programs online, and we have different online sessions available for hobby photographers mainly. In that includes the kid photography program or weekend photography programs or editing programs. This during this lockdown days. Basically, today's session is about a macro photography. So in this session particularly we are going to discuss about the details about the fundamentals of macro photography, what accessories typically you need for macro photography purpose, as well as some tips to share with you to work on macro photography so that during this lockdown situation you will be able to enjoy your time and have some creative results at your place. So everyone is fascinated with macro photography, and basically everyone wants to click the different types of close-up photos for small subjects or insects because they are very fascinating, and people like to have to explore that small or miniature alien world. So basically, that normally includes the insects, small insects, or small animals, flowers, or small things that are around you, or maybe food items. So what makes macro photography different in compared to the other photography areas? So now what we're going to do is we're going to discuss about the fundamentals of the macro photography, and basically then we will discuss about the typical equipments that are being used for the macro photography purpose, and we're going to see some specialized gears that are easily usable in macro photography so that you can have a better quality macro photos with a minimal efforts or less difficulties. Now, when you try to take a photo of say particular thing in a macro, what you need to do is you need to get very close or need to have a enlarged view of the particular subject so that you get a enough magnification of the subject. Say suppose if you want to take a photo of this particular road, so normally when we take a photo with our mobile phone camera or any DSLR camera or any point and shoot camera, normally what happens, the subject appears to be quite small in the frame, and we can't get the desired level of the magnification with the particular thing because the particular lens or particular camera doesn't allow us to get close to the subject particularly, and basically that all actually creates the problem, and it doesn't allow us to get close to the subject, and that doesn't create the desired level of the magnification. Now when we talk about the macro photography is mainly about to create a subject at a very larger scale on the camera sensor or the in the photo. So basically it is typically called a reproduction ratio. A reproduction ratio means the size that is compared with the actual or live size of the subject. So in this example, now you can see that in the first photo here, the reproduction ratio is 1:2, means the subject is represented as a half of its size, life size. As you see in the second photo, the reproduction ratio is 1:1. 1:1 means the subject is having a life size magnification. Life size magnification means we are having a same size of the subject compared to the life size of the subject, and that is the bare minimum criteria for the macro. And in the second photo you can see that, so in the third photo you can see that the magnification is 2:1. So the magnification or the size of the subject is double to the of the life size of the subject, means the subject size is significantly increase. Now as you keep on increasing the magnification, we are having a larger reproduction ratio for the subject, and gradually you can have 100 times magnification, 200 times, and that goes into the super macro scenario where you can have a finer details of extremely small subject. But at this level we are going to discuss about a macro photography where we will be able to click a subject as 1:1 or 2:1 magnification. So basically, if we talk about getting the desired magnification, what happens is basically our lens, a normal kit lens. You can talk about your telephoto lens. The particular lens doesn't allow us to get close to the subject to what we really need a magnification of macro level. But another thing what we can do is we can get close to the subject, but again every lens is having its minimum focusing distance. So if we try to go closer than the minimum focusing distance, then lens doesn't focus or lens doesn't work. So every lens has its minimum focusing distance mentioned on the lens, or if the particular lens is having any kind of marker, then if that particular marker shows the minimum focusing distance on the particular lens, or some if your camera lens doesn't have the marker on the lens, then the minimum focusing distance is mentioned straight away on the lens. So you can check the particular minimum distance, focusing distance of your camera lens. So you have to maintain the minimum focusing distance from your camera and the subject. If you try to get closer, you will be getting more magnification, but your lens is restricting to achieve that. So it is not possible to get a desired level of magnification with the kit lens or the basic lens. So you need to have to find some different alternatives to get into the macro photography. So we are going to discuss about all the aspects of macro photography. So we'll quickly touch the equipments that are required for the macro photography as well. So the key thing for the macro photography is your camera. So viewers, you might have seen that some of the macro photographs are taken with mobile phone as well. Point and shoot users also take some of the macros, and then it comes to the DSLR cameras. So basically when you compare the basic camera or point and shoot cameras with DSLR cameras, obviously point and shoot cameras are very handy, and you will notice that they are producing the better macro result. But if you see those photos on the computer, you will see that they are lacking the quality what DSLR camera provides. So if you really want to have a good quality macros, you have to go for the DSLR cameras. In DSLR cameras also you will find two types of variants: full frame cameras and crop frame cameras. For uh, full frame cameras means the camera sensors which are having a 36 by 24 millimeter size, and crop frame camera sensors will be having a smaller size. So basically full frame cameras are always good, and they produce the best quality results compared to the crop frame cameras. If you go for the full frame camera, you will always get a good quality result, as well as full frame camera results are much more better compared to the crop frame cameras, and they deliver the best quality results, and their performance is also significantly better in a low light. So it is always recommended to use for full frame camera, but if you are having a tight on budget, you can prefer to go for crop frame camera. But point and shoot cameras do have their own limitations, so they are just okay to start with that. Then the next thing is the lighting conditions or the light for the macro photography. So in case of macro photography, we are covering only the small area in the field or small area of the subject, and as compared to we are taking the photo in an entire room, we are getting the light in the camera from entire room. But for macro photography, we are getting the light from very small area, so the camera is receiving very less light, and due to that, camera is not been able to capture the things properly. So the lighting conditions or the lighting situation for the macro photography is always challenging, and most of the times natural light is not adequate for macro photography. In this section, in subsequent slides, we are going to discuss about more details of how to have artificial light for the macro photography. What are the quick ways to use the artificial light for the macro photography purpose? Then the next thing is the important thing for macro photography is a lens. Lens plays a very important role, and lens convert a macro photo to an actual macro. Otherwise, as we discussed earlier, the kit lenses or other basic lenses are not capable of producing the adequate or desired level of magnification for the macro photography. So there are different options available for macro photography. There are macro lenses, and additionally there are some conversion or the attachments available for the macro photography purpose, that those attachments do convert the other accessories or macro lenses. And those things will be actually we are going to quickly discuss in that as well. So basically, moving ahead, now we will quickly see the typical camera settings for the macro photography. So in case of macro photography, as we have to reduce the camera distance from the subject, as well as many times we have to extend the focal length to increase the magnification. So we have to shoot between f11 to f16 aperture value. Yes, most of the lenses can go beyond f16, they can go f22. Some of the lenses you might have seen, they may jump to f36 as well. But as you cross the f16 aperture value, you will see that the diffraction phenomenon is significantly higher in your photos, and then you can see that your photos are becoming softer, and you are losing a overall sharpness of the picture when you cross the aperture value of f16. So it is normally recommended to restrict your aperture value below f22. So f16 would be a good maximum limit for the photography purpose. So basically this, the distance is being reduced, so it is being actually reducing the depth of field, as well as the increasing focal length is reducing the depth of field. So we are compromising with the depth of field with these two parameters, but we are again correcting the or increasing the depth of field by increasing the aperture value. But the disadvantage of increasing the aperture value is that it is going to reduce the light, and as we discussed earlier, in macro photography the lighting conditions are extremely challenging, and in those challenging conditions already we are getting the light from very small area, and by increasing the aperture value we are reducing the light. So combining that all these things together, that reduces the amount of light coming to the camera, and hence that affects the shutter speed and ISO level of your photo. But again, now if you try to increase the ISO values, that will increase the noise in your photos. So as far as possible, try to keep your photo ISO level lower, and if you go for slower shutter speed, that will introduce the shake in your photos. So you have to balance out these three things together and make sure that you are getting the perfect results, and you will not expose any of your limitations in your photo, like there is too much noise in the photo, or there is a slower shutter speed. So to handle that kind of situation, it's better to use a artificial light source, so that we are having a additional light in your photo, so that there will be more light from the artificial light source that will help us to have photos with a faster shutter speed as well as the lower ISO level. And another thing what we need to make sure that we have to use the good diffuse light, and we need to avoid harsh lighting condition. And to have sharper pictures, we always have to use a tripod and make sure that we are stabilizing the camera, because in macro photography the magnification level is significantly higher, and as your hand slightly shakes, the particular handheld shake is also magnified to that level. So to have sharper pictures, it is always recommended to use a tripod to have the best quality pictures. You can yourself distinguish that if you take any photo with handle and if you take any photo with your camera supported, you'll see that there is a significant difference in your photos. And the most and foremost important thing is that do not play with white balance settings. White balance setting is to correct the colors of your photos and not to disturb the photos. So the use of white balance setting is to have appropriate colors reproduced in the picture. And if you are setting white balance to wrong value or degree Kelvin value, that is going to introduce incorrect color combination in your photo, and that doesn't look natural or right in colors, and that results in very bad photos. So using the perfect or right white balance is the critical thing for your good quality photos. So make sure that you are calibrating a white balance properly. If you are not aware with the white balance calibration procedure, go over your camera manual, understand the white balance calibration procedure and follow that, or leave it to auto. Most of the times camera can understand the color of the light source and it itself adjust the white balance by itself. Then the next important thing, that in many cases the light modifiers or the artificial lights that we are using are not perfectly working, or the attachments that we are attaching to the lens are not perfectly working with a camera's metering system or the focusing system. So many times we have to work in auto, we cannot work in auto exposure and auto focus mode. So focusing, manual focusing is the key thing for macro photography, as well as we have to adjust the exposure for macro photography. And to obtain a proper exposure, we may need to click some of the sample photos, and based on that we need to make sure that we are capturing a light in the perfect manner. And to obtain that, we have to understand the histogram. So histogram is the graph which is shown along with your photos when you see the photos after the capture. So this particular graph shows the distribution of intensity levels in your particular photo. So the area on the left hand side in the histogram is the dark region, mid-tone, and on the right hand side it is a bright region. So typically, for in general, the histogram should be normally distributed. But your photograph is a darker or underexposed photo, then histogram, you will see that histogram is towards shifted towards on a darker side. If your photo is overexposed, the histogram is shifted towards a brighter side. And for proper exposed photo, the histogram is normally balanced. There are some exceptions for that, but in general the histogram is distributed and spread across the entire area of the illumination levels in the histogram. So suppose if you are seeing that your particular photo histogram is on the darker side, then you need to make sure that you are having a positive exposure compensation and shift the histogram towards brighter side. If your photo is too bright, you can adjust the negative exposure compensation and shift. Or if you are working in a manual mode, you just have to adjust the light with the ISO or shutter speed to control the amount of light in the photo. But as far as possible, avoid doing that thing as well. You just rely on the camera's light meter. In complex situation, that thing works much better than our own judgments. Okay. So now we will go over some of the typical tips or the things that we should be doing for the macro photography. Macro photography, when we talk about the macro photos, people just think about the clicking the photos of small insects. But it's not like that. Macro photography is just restricted to photographs of insects or something. There are a lot of different areas where you can click the macro photos, and especially when you are locked at a home during this coronavirus days, it is a good thing that you can have a different macro photographs you can click and enjoy your time. So I will be actually sharing some of the ideas for the macro photography that you can do with the home subjects. So we'll be going over the 15 different ideas for the macro photography than only the macros of the insects. The first idea is macro photos of a flowers. Flowers, we have a small flowers at around our home, so we can click a photos of macros. So after insects, the flowers are the obvious subject for the macro photography. Fruits and vegetables, we have different fruits, vegetables available at home, so we can cut them, or we can use a small fruits as a whole and we can take a close-up photos on them. And then a pebbles or colorful stones, so they also create a very attractive macro photos. Rust or peeling paint, so the old subjects which are rusted or losing the paints are also kind of attractive targets for the macro photographs. Feathers, bird feathers are also attractive targets for macro photographs. So locate a small bird feathers around your home, or if you have some bird feathers kept in your collection, you can use them for the macro photography purpose. Clothes, different fabrics have different textures, and you can actually have a different patterns, shapes and colors with the cloths, and you can click different macro photos with cloths as well. Household items, we got a lot of very tiny small household items, and that list is very big, and you can spend many days in clicking these kind of household item macros. Leaves, the tree leaves are having different shapes and interesting patterns, so you can click the macro photographs of tree leaves and those things as well. So basically these are also good quality macro things. Then food items, prepared food or raw food items are also kind of uh, prepared food or raw food items are also kind of typical macro photography candidates, and you can use those things to click the macro photos. Water droplets on different surface or leaves do produce attractive shapes, colors, as well as you can create artificial droplets with the injection syringe, and you can have the droplet photos captured. And jewelry items are also kind of attractive, colorful things for you to capture during these days. Abstract photos, extremely close photos of different subject produces abstract patterns. Those abstract patterns are also a kind of interesting macro things. Okay, one more thing I would like to clear. We are getting in some questions. So first we will go over the things what we have planned, and then we will answer all the questions. So we just keep on asking the questions. We'll try to address the maximum questions that you have. Okay, then the next idea for the macro photography is using different patterns. So when we are using different objects or different shapes at things at our home, we can have different patterns with them, and we can click a macro photos with that. Texture, we can find interesting small grand miniature texture. So this is a texture made with small silicon items that are on the silicon die. So these are small silicon ASICs or chips that are there on the silicon die. Then you can use the toys at home and use click some interesting macro so scenarios as well. So basically, you just have a different subjects at home, and you can use a different scenarios setups and have interesting macro photographs click. So for that, it is not necessary that you have to go out and find some interesting place. Obviously, for macro photography and finding different subjects, you have to go outside and look at the things. But For now we have to restrict our search in our backyards only. So typically when we are using a macro lens or for lenses for macro photography purpose, we have to choose a proper focal length for the lens for the particular purpose. Say typically when we are taking a photographs or in photographs of insects or any harmful animals, we cannot go that close to the particular subject. So we need to maintain some particular distance. Say even if you are taking a photograph of butterfly, if you go too close to the butterfly, you disturb the butterfly. So you have to maintain some particular distance between you and a subject. So you should be at least maintaining minimum 2 feet distance between your camera and your subject, so that you will be maintaining a safe subjects for this harmful or say some other subjects that can be easily disturbed. When you are taking a photos of flower or any very extreme macros, you can get very close. That time that is okay, but again what basically what you are shooting, so you have to determine what focal length you are using. So in general, the macro lens should be having around 150 to 200 focal length, so that will help us to maintain the adequate distance between the camera and the subject. When you are clicking the macro photographs, you just have to work on the subject composition as well as the details in the frame. So you have to choose the proper background for the subject, so that your subject can be easily stand out from the background. So if you can see in the first photo, the subject is extremely good, it is attractive, but it is not standing out against the background. So it is not creating the desired visual impact on the viewer's mind. But in second photo, the background is plain green. So as we discussed earlier, when we are using around 150 to 200 focal length lens, it is going to produce adequate background blurring effect as well. So if you are using a longer focal length lens, that will be good to easily blur out the background as well. Now then the next thing is the depth of field for the macro photography. As we discussed earlier, the macro photography, the depth of field is a very much challenging thing. Now in the middle photo, you can see that the front portion of this bug or the fly is completely focus, and you can see the textural details of the eyes of the fly. But on the back side, you are seeing that the things are getting blurred. So basically when we are actually taking a macro photographs, the depth of field is very much limiting, as we discussed. So what we have to do is we have to slightly reduce the size of the subject, so that we will be showing the subject in the entire focus for the frame, like what we are showing in the third photo. Or what you have to do is you have to align the subject horizontal to the camera, so that we are having more depth of field appearing for the subject. But you need to be very much careful when you are taking a macro photos about the depth of field, and you have to keep eye on the photo, and you need to make sure that you are having a better composition, so that the proper things are being shown in the picture. So you have to follow the basic composition techniques like rule of thirds or active space, or having the combination of different colors, or using the lines that leads the view. So you just have to follow the composition so techniques while you are clicking the photo, as well as you need to make sure that you are following those things when you are editing those photos as well. So when you actually are taking a photo of macro subject, the depth of field is very much challenging. So what we need to do is we need to have a focus on the important area of the subject, and how we show the thing is also an important thing. See in first photo, when we see the dragonfly, we see its eyes first. So you just have to always focus in eye, so that we will have a subject appearing more sharper. Then second photo, you can when you see the photo, you can see the details of these wings, especially these color patterns of the wings. So the main thing that we are showing should be in a focus. Now the same wing is magnified to a higher extent in the third photo. So even though I have done a significant magnification, the particular photo is not that attractive. Even though the macro level or magnification level is too high, when single small pattern on the butterfly's wing has been enlarged to a larger extent, but still it is not producing the attractive thing because it doesn't have a proper focal point or area to be attracted. So only the magnification is not going to help you to create the attractive photos. You have to work on the various aspects of the photography, means like the artistic side of your photography. So then the next thing is that the using the proper equipment for the macro photography purpose. So now we're going to discuss quickly, go over the different equipments for the macro photography. So the key thing is the lighting for macro photography. The lighting, we discussed that it is almost of the time it is necessary that use artificial light for the macro photography. Many times you might have seen that people are using kind of do it yourself type light modifiers, and that is the cheapest way. So what you can do is you can have one flash that can be mounted on the camera or off camera mode, and that particular flash will produce the additional light for the photography purpose. Now this is a Godox TT685 flash. This flash has the ability to work in a TTL mode when we are using this flash on the camera as well as away from the camera as well. So with some light modifiers, say artificial modifiers, you get a softbox. So you can mount this softbox on the flash and you can increase the size of the light source. So when we are using this flash on the camera, it will be actually on camera flash, or if we have to use this flash away from the camera, we get a transmitter. That is you can actually refer the Godox website or Godox YouTube channel, where you can find that how to use this flash in off camera mode, and with that you can use this flash. Now this softbox is going to produce a softer light, but the size of this softbox is not that large. So we can have additional softbox. Again, Godox softbox is easily available in the market, and its size is varying from 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter to 80 centimeters, 120 centimeters. So from that, the 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter size light modifier is adequate. So it actually kind of foldable thing, and you can convert that into a 80 by 8, 40 by 40 light source, and with that you can actually have a flash attaching, and you get a S bracket to attach the flash, and with that you can have a handy light source with you, so that will be going to produce soft diffuse light with minimal efforts. Another way is to use the light panel. Light panel is a LED light panel. This LED panel produces a white, very bright light, and this panel is also good lighting alternative for the. This is also a very bright light source, and this panel is also a good alternative for the photographs of flowers and stationary subjects. So you can consider using this lighting panel for the soft and diffuse light. And if you are really going into the serious macro hobby photography, you have another option. Say so for Nikon camera, Nikon has its own twin flash system, or Canon has also its own twin flash system. So basically this twin flash system is a kind of thing that attach to your camera lens on the front side, and this is a kind of a modified version of the ring flash. And these flashes you can control the angle, and these flashes are triggered by the transmitter that is there on the camera mounted, and that will control these flash units, and they will be actually producing the proper light for the macro photography. So this is the perfect solution for the macro photography, but these light systems are extremely costly. These light systems are about 45,000 rupees in the market. So many people prefer to use DIY lighting systems, and that is the good thing to start with. Once you proceed further in the macro photography, you can invest in other accessories. But to start with, you can simply use simple softboxes or continuous LED light and get into the macro photography related things. Then the important factor, the thing for the macro photography is the lens. So the typically we use a macro lens for the macro photography purpose, and the most commonly used macro lenses are Nikon 105mm, macro lens for Nikon or Tamron. Also there is a 100 mm macro lens of Canon. Also the 100 mm macro lens, that lens is more popular lens, and with that you can get a good quality magnification. The main advantage of this is that these lenses are easy to work, and they are just simply connect this lens to the camera and click the photos in various exposure mode. You don't need to play with the focusing settings or the exposure settings, and you will get a better quality results without any adjustment. But the good quality macro lenses are very costly, and normally they cost about 50,000 rupees. Then the next alternative is the reverse lens mount. Means this mount attaches the lens in the reverse way to the camera. But when we attach the lens in reverse manner to the camera, then we lose the control. Then we lose all the focusing and exposure related things to the camera. So it is not that easy to work with that. People feel that it is very expensive thing. You get this kind of ring in a market for less than 1,000 rupees. But again, that increases the complexity of the operation significantly, and many people have experienced that even by buying this kind of things, they don't get any results with that. So these things are not easy to use with. Then the next option is the extension tube. Extension tubes are actually increasing the focal length of the existing thing by adding the tubes in between. So they are extending the lens, and then with that we are actually having the increased focal length available. But with that, basically what happens is some extension tube loses the control over the lens, and there is a problem with the controlling aperture values or the controlling the camera parameters or getting the lens information to the camera. And again, camera has to completely work in a manual mode, and that is again a kind of complicated thing. So that is also not an easier simple option to go ahead with. Then the next option is macro coupler. Means there are coupler rings which can connect two lenses together, and with that, this when we couple two lenses together, it actually uh, effectively increases the focal length. But again, this option is also extremely complex. See why I'm including this option, because I want you to be away from these complex options, because I've seen that many people have opted for these complex options, and then they didn't got the desired results, and then they got disappointed. So what I want you to go ahead with, that is with the feasible options or the simple options, that the entry or the basic things that you can go ahead with that, and then you can try the complex things once you have good hand on the things. Then there are some filter rings available in the market. So these are a simple glass elements, or you can see the lenses. Those are available in our physics lab. So these lenses do have a different magnification ratios. So when you attach this kind of lenses in front of our camera body, then these lenses do produce the magnification. In front of your camera lens, they produce the magnification, and that actually gives a magnified view. But that results in a very poor quality image, as well as when we introduce any uncalibrated element in the front, that introduces the significant amount of distortion or the quality problems of the picture, and hence we can actually get a very poor quality results with that. It interferes with autofocus mechanism of the camera, as well as it interferes with the focusing light control mechanism of the camera, and that is not that easy to recover. So this option is not a good option. So the final option or the simple approach for you to go ahead with macro photography is a Nisi close-up kit. Nisi close-up kit is a simple glass filter that is made with multiple glass elements, and those are as we mentioned earlier, these simple glasses are just uncoated or uncalibrated glass elements. For this particular thing, these glasses are multi-nano coated, and they are actually useful to avoid the different aberrations or the different control the visual distortions that are being introduced in our photos. So this two glass element uh, filter produces quite a good amount of magnification. So if you see this filter comes in a good pouch, as well as this filter comes in with the attachment rings. So the thread diameter of this filter is 77 mm, means it's a quite a larger in size. So if you see the kit lens for full frame camera, say if you are seeing the 24 120 mm, the size of this lens diameter is quite large, and we are actually, we can easily fit this filter on this lens as well. And if we have to use this lens with the smaller diameter lenses, we have a step up attachment rings, that is 77 to 72 and 77 to 67 mm diameter threading is possible with that. And if your camera lens is diameter is smaller than that, then you have to go for the additional step up rings that are easily available in the market. Now basically, how you can check the diameter of the lens? The diameter of the lens is simply written on the lens itself on the side somewhere, or for some lenses the diameter of the lens, particular lens, is mentioned on the front side. So you have to check the diameter of the particular lens. So then the typically use to use this Nisi close-up kit, they are recommending to use it with the telephoto lens, say 7300 mm lens. So this lens is having diameter of thread diameter of 67 mm. So this is a Nikon 7300 mm lens, and which is having a thread diameter of 67 mm. So with the 67 to 77 mm diameter attachment, I can attach this filter to the lens, and now this particular telephoto lens can be working as a macro lens very easily. And shortly I will share you some of the example photos for the uh, for this particular lens. So we have taken some time to use this 70 300 mm lens and click some example photos for this Nisi filter as well. So we'll see the magnification that is produced by the Nisi filter for various types of lenses. So for the kit lens, the basic lens that we are using with the full frame camera, say 24 120 mm lens, without the filter we are getting this level of magnification, but with a Nisi close-up kit we are getting quite significant higher magnification. When I am using the particular filter with my existing 105 mm macro lens, I am getting this much magnification without the filter, but with Nisi close-up kit I am getting a quite a good magnification. So in this situation I got almost 1.8 times magnification to the what macro results I am already getting. I was getting significantly better results with the Nisi close-up kit. Then for the 7300 mm I got significantly higher magnification. Without filter kit I have to maintain around 1.5 meter distance from the subject, but when I use a close-up kit at 300 mm I could click at around 25 centimeters from the subject, and I could get quite a large magnification with this kit. So this kit is the simple way to use your camera existing camera lenses in a macro mode, and you get the best quality results because of the quality of the material or the elements that are being used for the particular filter. Now the availability and all will be available with the Nisi and on the website. On this Facebook page you can check the cost and other related factors. And after lockdown, when the limited or this restrictions are over, you may get a limited deliveries of these things as well. So we'll quickly go over the some of the photos that we clicked with the Nisi close-up kit. Again, these are some of the macro photography ideas that you can try at home as well. So these are some medicine tablets, simple Duracell, phone keypad. This is a feather, watch, some jewelry items, and components or other household things. These are small sugar crystals, and you can see how much level of magnification you can get with this filter. Okay. Now, when we talk about macro photography, we are constantly discussing about depth of field. So many times it happens, many times people feel challenging that you don't get a adequate depth of field in the photo. So for that, the standard technique used in a macro photography is the focus stacking, where we are stacking or merging the multiple photos. So in our first scenario, you can see that there is a single photo with inadequate depth of field. Means you can see that the focus is somewhere in the middle, and as you move away or move closer to the camera, the things are out of focus, and that doesn't look good. You want to have more and more area of the picture to be in focus, just like that is there in the second picture. Now second picture is made with a 20 photos. So what we have done is I have taken a series of photos which shifted focus and merged the focus. So we will quickly go over the technique for the merging the photos with the depth focus stacking technique. Okay, now you can see that all these 20 different photos are been clicked with a shifted focus. Means what? In the first photo, the focus is at the beginning. Then the for second photo, the focus is slightly shifted on the back side, and so on. So I'm just showing you all these photos with a shifted focus. So you have to mount your camera on tripod, and you have to gradually keep on shifting the focus for every photo, and you need to make sure that you are maintaining the camera settings same for all the photos. There may be some slight movements, like you can notice here that there are some slight movements to the camera, but with the merging software I am going to show you merge process with the Photoshop. So with this merging software you can merge all these things together, and while you are merging, the software itself can align all these things together. So just fine movements or small movements are okay, but you will not do a large movements in the picture. So once you open all these files in Photoshop, you can do the basic corrections, and then this is Adobe Camera. You might be familiar with the Photoshop interface, and with that basic adjustments like lighting correction or the lens corrections, so that all these things are we doing on the picture, and then we'll be taking all these photos into the Photoshop. So once all these photos are transferred into the Photoshop, what we have to do is we have to first load all these photos as a layer in a single file. So what we will do is we'll go into the menu, file menu, then scripts, and then load images into stack, where we will load all the images in the single stack for the single photo. And there is an option to automatically align all the images, so we'll actually check that option. So Photoshop will align on that images, and images are being loaded. Then the next thing what we have to do is we have to make the areas or the select areas from each image which are in a focus. So this is also kind of automatic thing in a Photoshop. When we actually select all these layers together and ask Photoshop to stack them together based on the focus, Photoshop will itself find all the focused areas, and then it will merge all the focus from all the photos what we have. The thing is that this basically this process is a kind of fundamental process, and this is just for the beginning purpose. There are some additional advanced software for focus tracking purpose. They may merge the photos in more advanced way, but for the one who want to get into the macro photography and start all these activities, Photoshop is a very much convenient thing to do about the photo focus tracking. So once we select all these files, go into the edit menu. In the edit menu we have to go into auto blend layers. In auto blend layers we have to select the option stack images, In the stack images options, we will select for the seamless tones and colors. And once we do that and click OK, all the layers will be stacked together and that will form a single image with focus. Now you can see that from different layers the Photoshop has been extracted the areas and make sure that the entire image is in focus. But on the edges you can see the things are not clear because while merging Photoshop may have some alignment issues, and with that we actually cannot have a proper data set on the edges. So what we can do is we can select a crop tool, and with the help of crop tool we will crop the. Okay, so before proceed further, we will flatten the image and merge all the layers so that it will be comfortable for us to work on that in a single layer. And once all these layers are merged, now we have a single image. And then we can select a crop tool and crop the unwanted or the problematic corner areas of the image together. And then the entire image is clean now. Okay, so this is a focus stacking technique. With that, you can merge a focus from different photos and have an extended depth of field with which you can overcome the issues with the focusing in your photos for the macro photography. Now we will actually move ahead with the question and answer session. I will just give me a couple of minutes. I will go over the questions quickly and we'll prioritize some of the questions that we can take quickly and continue on that. Just give me a small amount of time to scan your questions quickly. Oh, thank you. A lot of people are enjoying this session. So, and a lot of questions are also coming in. So, what I think is due to the time constraint, I may be able to answer some of the questions, and some of the questions I will answer in the comments. So, basically, people are having some. What the question is how we get the light in the background using flash. One sec, I will. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I'm back with the questions. So the first question I'm taking is from the SI Saini, and he's asking that how do you get the light in the background using flash? So as we discussed earlier, the flash can be used away from the camera as well. And as I mentioned earlier on the Godox YouTube channel or on the Godox website, on the Godox contact, you can see how to trigger this flash away from the camera. And actually you can have some kind of diffuser like this, diffuser plate like this. So you can place the flash behind this kind of diffuser plate, and when you use this flash behind the diffuser plate, you can mount this thing behind your subject, so that you can have a artificial light from the behind. Or if you are using the Nikon wireless system, in Nikon wireless system you get this commander which actually triggers the different flash in Nikon CLS system. So this commander can trigger multiple flashes that you can mount along with your subject, and you can have multiple flashes. Like I shown these two flashes, those flashes are mounted on the ring, but you can detach those flashes and you can move these flash units anywhere you want in the entire setup, and you can place these things and you can adjust the light as per your need. So with this advanced lighting techniques, you can easily shift the lighting around your subject. Okay, about the flash modifier question, so we just have a restriction on time, so we'll take this question in another videos, and we will have some another explanatory video on YouTube channel where we will have all those things explained. Okay, then Saini has the another question that how we overcome the reflections by the flash. So typically, if you use a bare flash, the flash is definitely going to have a very bright light or very harsh light, and to overcome that, we already discussed that we will use a reflector or say diffuser plate, or we can use a softbox, small size softbox or larger softbox with the flash, and with that we can easily soften the light, and that will not create so harsh light or hot spots in the picture. Okay, Amit Shah has question, what is the Renox lens? Okay, so Renox also manufacture the similar lens like Nisi has, but the thing that I observed with the Renox lens is the lens diameter is very small, and the size of the particular Renox lens is extremely small. If you compare the size of the Nisi filter diameter and the Renox diameter is extremely smaller. And if you see or use the Renox lens with the full frame camera lens, it produces significant amount of vignetting. So Renox lens is not usable thing. Just give me a second, I will show you the Renox filter as well. Okay, I'm just making the Renox lens available. Till that time, I'll answer your another question. Can we use extension tube to increase the magnification? As I mentioned earlier, extension tube is one of the way to increase the magnification. But again, the extension tube operation is extremely complex, and getting a good quality extension tube that doesn't interfere with your focusing and exposure mechanism is bit difficult, and many of the extension tube has their own problems. So extension tubes also have their own limitation, but if you're really going for a super macro kind of thing, extension tubes are the only way that you can get a higher level of magnification. So for extreme magnification, extension tube you can go for that. Now this is a Renox filter. If you see, if you compare the glass element size, if you compare the gloss element size of the Nisi filter and Renox, you can see that the Renox filter is extremely smaller, and it is not suitable to work with the full frame cameras or larger size lenses. The Renox is also a good alternative, but for working with the full frame cameras and the bigger size lenses, I found Nisi filter as a better alternative. Just give me a second to check the next question. Okay, Badresh Patil has a question that is saying that he is not getting a focus in macro mode, and I'm not exactly sure what setup you are using. And as I mentioned earlier, the particular lens has a minimum focusing distance. Say suppose if I am talking about the 7300 lens, this lens is having a minimum focusing distance of 1.5 meters. So if you are trying to focus on the subject that is closer than 1.5 meters from the camera, then this particular lens will not be able to never focus on your subject. So at first level you have to make sure that you are maintaining the maintaining the desired distance between the camera and subject. And many times it happens that your particular the camera lens will not allow you to get too close to that, and that's why we have these alternatives. So if you use a macro attachment filter to your normal camera lens, you will be able to get close. And again, as I mentioned, the depth of field in a macro photography is extremely shallow, and whatever the problems or shake or blur you are causing, that may be because of camera movement or something. So try to stabilize your camera on tripod, and if you are using a tripod and you are using a live view, you can easily spot the focus, and you can take your own time to focus on the subject properly. One second, I will go over the next question. Okay, next question is from Mr. Anand Bade. For every macro photograph, is that macro lens is required? Yes, basically, if you want to have the simplified macro photography, the particular lens is required, because as we discussed, the normal lenses are not capable of creating the photography. But if you want to have a quick workaround with that, then you can consider for going for the macro filters attachment, so that you can easily convert your existing lens into the macro lens. And that's why actually we are discussing about this Nisi close-up kit, which can convert your existing telephoto lens into the macro lens, and you can easily take a good quality macro photos with a particular lens. And whatever the photos which I shown earlier, I'll come back to those photos. Just one, give me a second. Now you can see this close photo. So this photo is not possible to, this photo is taken with 7300 lens, with this lens, but it is not possible to take this photo normally without a macro filter attachment. So basically we'll have to find some alternative or something to work with the existing lens to make it a macro lens. Okay, give me a second, I will go over the next question. And the next question is from Sandeep Bishnoi. Which is the best lens for macro photography? Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have to choose the appropriate focal length for the particular purpose. So there is not a single lens that we can say that is the best for macro photography, but you have to choose the particular lens that is based on your need. Say suppose you have to go for extreme close-up, you may can use a 60 mm Nikon macro lens for that purpose, and with that you can have adequate macro achieved, because with that lens you can click a photos from few centimeters as well. But if you are taking a photo of say macro photo of snake, you cannot get close to that level. In that case, you have to go for a 105 mm macro lens. With this lens, you can maintain around 2 feet distance from the subject, or even adequate distance. If you go for a longer focal length, that would be better, because by maintaining a distance from the subject, you can take a good quality photo. So it's better to choose the particular lens based on the use. So there is no single answer for your question, and if you elaborate what type of use you are doing, we can recommend you the better lens for the macro purpose. Okay, give me a second to go over the next question. Okay, so we are actually running out of time, so we'll take one or two questions quickly and we'll conclude. So I'm getting repeatedly one question, which is the best way for the metering. So for Nikon camera, the best way is the matrix metering, where it measures the light from different segments in the picture and divides that. And normally you should be relying on the matrix metering for Nikon cameras, and if you are using the Canon camera, it is a evaluative metering, which is similar or parallel to the matrix metering. And for Sony or other cameras, it is a multi-segment metering. Then about the cost and availability of this filter, there are multiple questions about the cost and availability of this filter. So this NISI team will update the cost and availability of this filter shortly, and they will also update how they can be delivered at different places after this lockdown is eased. And another question is from Amit, that can NISI filter be used on 18135 mm? Yes, NISI filter. This filter is having a 77 mm thread diameter, and there are step down, step up rings available in the market. So this filter comes up with 77 to 72 and 77 to 67. But if your camera lens diameter is lesser than that, you have to use the additional step up rings to the diameter that is suitable for your camera lens. You can order them from your local camera store or from Amazon also. You get a set of this step up step down rings easily. So with this we will conclude with the today's session. Thank you for joining this session, and hope you have enjoyed this session. Write your feedbacks, as well as make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube channel. We can continue these discussions about your photography related questions, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you. Bye bye.